Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shema Shai by Shem Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming into another lesson in truth. And this is going to be part 2. This is for the Critical Race History channel. And once again, I'm back in the book From Babylon to Timbuktu. All right. By Rudolph R. Windsor. And this is the history of the ancient black races, including the black Hebrews. All right. So basically what he does thoroughly in this book is that he proves that in Mesopotamia, in a place that's called the Fervent Crescent today, by both scholars and historians, that area was full of what you refer to as black people today, is people with dark colored flesh, and just because you have dark flesh does not mean that you are the same people. All right, everyone had dark flesh until Esau, Edom came along. So let's make that very, very clear. There are 18 different races on the face of this earth. All right, and only one of them is pale-fleshed. And that pale-fleshed nation did a lot of damage. As a matter of fact, they lightened up a lot of the other nations because everyone was different shades of dark brown, to a light brown. But through conquering, through the blessing of the sword, which was the blessing that was given to Esau, Edom, who is identified as the wicked, they conquered. And part of conquering is what happens when people are conquered is the women. All right, the women are taken, and the population gets lightened up. As a matter of fact, you can watch the movie True Romance, and the scene with Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken, as they're about to put Christopher Walken Dennis Hopper to death. He has a conversation with the Sicilian mob boss, which is Christopher Walken, and he lets him know the history of the Sicilians and how they were spawned by the Moors, and how the Moors changed. They took what was people with blonde hair, blue eyes, and made them pale. And Lil Edomite was just walking by, trying to give me some rhythm. But anyway, how they took a pale flesh people who were blonde hair, blue eyed, and basically changed them to a darker complexion with brown hair, brown eyes. All right. So in reverse, it was the other way around, where Esau, Edom got dominion over all of Europe, and even all the different northern parts of Africa, and the places north of Africa too. All right. So now that all that's out the way, let's jump right into it. This is on chapter 3, on page 26. And first, I'm going to read an insert from Who is Esau Edom in the introduction. And it reads, "This material presents strong meat of God's word, which is intended to edify and nourish strong Christians." Right? Then it gave Hebrews 5, 12, and 14. I think I'm gonna go ahead and read that. And then it says, "It is thus specifically intended for those who have the advanced stage of understanding racial perspectives of the Bible." All right, and that was one of the first things that I learned from the apostles and elders coming into this thing, back in 2007, was that until you can embrace the racial aspects of the Bible, you will never understand it. All right, and even in the Zondervan's Dictionary Bible, it clearly tells you that when you look up elect, or you look up predestined, I'm pretty sure it's in the predestined definition. It will tell you in that definition that universal salvation is foreign in the Bible. So let me go ahead and grab that Hebrews. Glasses off. which is, by the way, Hebrews is and always has been a part of the Bible. For any group or person out there trying to discredit the book of Hebrews, you know. But it was Hebrews, the 5th chapter, I think it was 12 through, verses 12 through 14. And it reads, "For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of power, and become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat. For everyone that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are full age, even those who are by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil." Right. So going back to that introduction, and who is Esau Edom? I wrote that down, by the way. I'm not holding the book, Who is Esau Edom. I wrote that down. He was right about that. Until you can embrace the racial aspect of the Bible, you never will understand it. If you're trying to apply the things to the Bible, salvation and destruction, if you're trying to apply it universally, it will always be confusion. All right, because there's a specific set of people who are destined for destruction, and another set of people who are destined for for salvation. All right, so let's begin the reading. It says, Afro-Asian culture goes to Europe. Sumerians, Babylonians, Ethiopians were black people. They contributed much to the advancement of civilization because they studied astrology. They were capable of formulating many principles of astronomy. These black people were sagacious and skillful, that they were able to divide the years into months, week into hours, hours into minutes and seconds. In mathematics, they developed the decimal system. The most famous of the Babylonian kings, Hammurabi, who ruled from 2150 BC. He was outstanding for codification of the system of laws founded by retaliation and punitive measures of crime. He also established a 7-day week, which the last day of rest was a day of Sabbath. I don't believe that to be true, because there's probably some truth to some of the things he's saying, but the Bible clearly, even Flavius Josephus made it clear that Abraham brought math, science, and mathematics to the Hamites, to the Africans. Okay, it says the literature. Hold on, this idea was adopted by the Hebrews, and see there we go. That's going off. It said this was adopted by the Hebrews and transmitted to the Greeks, Romans, and other Europeans, where the scripture clearly says Jacob is the form of all things. All right, so the 7-day week came from was the laws given to Moses. There was no one doing that, until the Israelites were doing it. Their laws were the ones diverse, and from everyone else that was in the world. All right, they were the ones. All right, but it says the literature of the Babylonians is quite interesting. Long ago, these black people wrote with a sharp instrument on clay tablets. Thousands of tablets have been found, and some of them disclose a popular work known as Enuma Elish, the creation epic. All right, the story of how the world began derived from the Babylonians. So I guess they're talking about what do you call that? It was some book that they're always bringing out, the Epic of Gilgamesh or something like that. It says, after the dispersal of mankind, a Tower of Babel, the Black Hamites migrated toward the east, south, and see, he can't call them Hamites, because that would be incorrect. Because I'm kind of making adjustments as I'm reading it, because the Lord divided the nations at the Tower of Babel. Okay, so he just can't call them Hamites, because the nations really hadn't, he just can't call them that yet. All right, he can't do it. All right. Anyway, it says after the dispersal of mankind at the Tower of Babel, the black Hamites migrated toward the east, south. Okay, you know what? I see what he's saying now. All right. Okay, I understand what he's saying. He's saying that the particular sect of the Hamites, of these people, went to the south and the east. Okay, I get what he's saying. These black Hamites settled in the land of Canaan. Later on, it was called Israel, which I agree, that's true. The land of Canaan gets its name from the youngest son of Ham, who was Canaan. The Canaanites are the primordial origin of the land of Canaan. We may call them Africans because their blood relationship to the other inhabitants of African continent. There were 11 Canaanite tribes living in the land of Canaan and surrounding it before the black Israelites possessed it. And that's true. The land of Canaan was full of Hamitic people. There was no argument there. That is absolutely correct. And those Hamites were so-called, will be referred to as so-called black people today. Not the same black people as Israelites, or the Negroes that are here in America, in France, you know, in England, in the UK, and in the islands. It's a different set of people. Everyone that is dark is not the same. All right, remember that everyone was dark in the beginning until Esau, Edom was born. All right. It says the great cultural and commercial cities of these black Canaanites were Tyre and Sidon. You know what? Let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter. Joel 3 and 4, and it reads, yeah, what do you have to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? But that's because Palestine is where you get Philistine from, all right? Those were so-called black people. All the movies I see with Samson, they're not being portrayed as they actually were, okay? It says, if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. All right, so what was that recompense? The losing of the land of Canaan, all right? Because Tyre and Sidon played a role in the capturing of Israel going into slavery off the west coast of Africa, okay? They played a role in that, and then now is going to be a recompense brought back upon them for doing that, okay? Continuing on, it says, this city gets its name from Sidon, the firstborn son of Canaan. The Sidonians and the Tyrians were of the same race, and their kings ruled over both of these cities. In many history books you will read about the Sidonians under the name Phoenicia. Greeks call the Sidonians Phoenicians, land of palm, because they found many palm trees. That's interesting. But the Sidonians called their nation by the name of Canaan. Phoenicia, a land, or the land of Sidonia, was located in the north of Palestine along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, bound by the sea to the west. And you know what that gives me? That gives, now that I'm reading that, how the Greeks were just changing everything. That's Psalms 49 and 11. Let's run to that real quick. Psalms 49:11. Their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. All right, so that's how you ended up with a city called Alexandria in Egypt. All right, you got an Alexandria, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee. You know, all these places that Esau renamed for his own namesake, and he likes to get, he just changed your nationality and changed your name, and then it gets written in the history as if that's who you are. And that's why that's another reason why there's so much confusion in the world today as to who is who, when we start bringing out, you know, who's who according to the Bible, and people are looking at you crazy. All right, but all that history it's here. All you got to do is just search it out. All right. Phoenicia, or the land of Sidonia, was located in the north of Palestine along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, bound by the sea on the west and by the mountain ranges of Lebanon to the east. Tyre and Sidon were founded in 2300 BC. Tel El Amarna tablets show that Tyre was a place of great strength and 15th century BC, Sidon was still older. For a long time, it was only black Phoenician city known to the Greeks. Even after Tyre took leadership, the Greeks and Hebrews spoke the Phoenician as Sidonians, and the king of Ethelbald of Tyre is called Sidonians. These black people were proficient in philosophy, astronomy, geometry, arithmetic, navigation, and it's true that they can understand each other, all right, and that the Hebrews understood their language because of the conversations that were had back and forth between them during the times of war, all right. When King David went and slayed Goliath, that was a dialogue going back and forth. When the Lord picked the fight with the Phoenicians or the Palestinians, the Philistines, all right, via Samson. All right, they could speak back and forth. All right, so this is very much true, but yet Hollywood and Jehovah's Witness books and Christian books always Christian comics and whatever always depict these people as being white, which is just complete racist and hateful. And it's racist and hateful to take to misconstrue and confuse people and tell lies like that. They get angry when people tell the truth. All right. It says they had good harbors which enabled them to navigate to distant lands such as Cyprus, Sardinia, Crete, Rhodes, Cadiz in Spain, Sicily, Carthage in North Africa near Tunis, Tangier, Ophir, Canary Islands. These Phoenicians were skilled also in metalwork, needlework, embroidery. They extracted dye from shellfish abounding in adjacent waters. The dye became known later as Tyrrhenian purple. They made glass from the white sand of the Mediterranean, and that brings to mind of Hiram, who was an employee of King Solomon, going to show you that the Israelites had dominion over these people. Okay, Hiram, that's in 1 Kings, the 10th chapter, and I'm starting about verse 22, and it reads, "For the king had a sea of navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years it came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks." That's also how we know, and that's really is talking about turkeys, and that's how we know that that they were going to the Americas, because it even tells you in the Apocrypha that when the Northern Kingdom left, it took them a year and a half. Well, that's what it took. It took Hiram a year and a half to go to the America and a year and a half to come back. That's why it was 3 years. Okay. Verse 11. I would start at 10. Start 10 all over again. 1 Kings 10 and 10. And she gave the king up. Salakia. 22. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy to Tarshish, bringing gold, silver, ivory, and apes and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches, for all the wisdom, and the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. So this is where the true knowledge and understanding of all things that the nations have been using ever since. They all learned it from Solomon. All right? And mathematics and science and that whole sort of thing was given to the so-called Africans and Hamites through, via Abraham. All right? Even Flavius Josephus wrote about that. Okay? Let's turn one more page here. It says the Phoenicians spoke Hamitic Semitic language so closely allied to the Hebrew, the Phoenicians and the Hebrew. Well, they spoke a language. I wouldn't say that it was Hebrew, but the Hebrews could actually understand their language. All right, because all the nations have been divided at this time already. It had already happened. Okay, and they all had different tongues, and it just so happened that they could understand one another. Okay. And let me go where I lost my place. Hold on. So, oh, here we go. It says, Though different dialects may practically be regarded as the same language, as was previously stated, there were 11 Canaanite tribes: Sidonians, Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgazites, Hivites, Arkazites, Sinites, Avrites, Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Hebrew has its origin in Canaanite language. When Abraham came from the region of Babylon, which he did, Assyria was in that area, all right, in Mesopotamia, similar in his own language. Abraham communicated very well with the inhabitants of the new land, adopted the Canaanite language, made certain modifications to be known as Hebrew. The Hebrew language was very similar to Canaanite, says the Bible dictionary, all right, and even gave you which Bible dictionary. I wonder which one it was. It put a number by it. That's what I love about these old books. So when you go to the resources, I I'll check that later. Hold on. J.A. Rogers. Wow, there's so many books in the back of here that I need to. But anyway, Salakia, I started thinking out loud. Let's keep reading here. We're almost done here. It says, when Moses led the black Israelites out of, and they don't have to be called black, but he's making a statement just to make you understand that they were a people of color, and they were. All right, Northern Kingdom included. We were all what they, I guess, for lack of a better word, a Negroid type, but we were different shades of brown, from light brown, from what you call yellow, all the way up to dark chocolate. All right, because that's described in the Bible. All right, it says, when Moses led the black Israelites out of Egypt, northeast Africa, Moses died in the wilderness. Then Joshua led the Israelites into the land of Canaan and dispossessed the Canaanites. Now it is written in a Jewish book called the Babylonian Talmud. So the Talmud actually has this history in it. That's a cut on Esau, Edom. Now it makes me want to, I've never even wanted to pick that wicked book up. But you know what? If I can get my hands on one just so I can have this insert. And here's the inserts. It says, from when the Africans came to plead against the Jews before Alexander of Macedon, they said Canaan belonged to us. As it is written, the land of Canaan with the coast thereof, and the Canaanites were the ancestors of these people ourselves. So there you go, man. So that was right there in that's in the Talmud. Okay, so let me grab two scriptures. First one is that's them Edomites telling on themselves. That's that Psalm 64:8. They can't help it. Lord puts their spirit on them to give up information or just say things that they shouldn't have said. But it reads, so that they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see them shall flee away. All right, and then the last scripture is Isaiah 34:16. And it reads, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, none of these shall fail, none shall want her mate, for my mouth it has commanded, in his spirit he hath gathered them. So the Lord is not dealing with all these other books. There's only one book where you're going to find the truth, man. All right, and then I'm talking about books of worship, and the only one that has the truth and the prophecies in it is the Holy Bible. Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Abashai Bashim Rakak Wadash Wa Abab Abal Kwam Yasharala.